Hey everyone, welcome to Saturday Night Popcorn. This is Jason.
This is Kai, and we have another great discussion for you today. The movie of the day is Sleepless in Seattle from 1993. We'll give a spoiler warning, even though it's almost as old as us. It's
It is
30.
as I'm
Yeah,
horror.
I'm a year older, so I guess I'm young. If you want to call it that.
Young.
But yeah, still want to give a spoiler warning, and then we'll give a brief description of Sleepless in Seattle. Sleepless in Seattle is a 1993 film about two strangers who fall in love through a radio station, or a radio show. Sam, a widowed architect, moves from Chicago to Seattle with his son, Jonah, who wants him to find a new wife. Annie, a journalist in Baltimore, hears Sam talk about his late wife on the radio and feels drawn to him. She writes him a letter asking him to meet her at the Empire State Building on Valentine's Day. Uh, like in the movie An Affair to Remember, Jonah likes Annie and persuades his father to go to New York, and he also goes to the Empire State Building, but does not see Sam. She leaves, but then runs into him on the street. They realize they are meant for each other.
Just does
Walk away.
not.
They goofed that up. Yeah, because they definitely met in the street in Seattle first before seeing each other again at the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
So that description was a little wonky.
Yeah.
It's all
Close
good.
enough. But they do fall. They do meet up at the
They
end
fall in
on
love.
the. We don't know. It ends, and then it's like maybe the next day he's like, "Nope, you ate my food" or something, or.
Oh, but I didn't mention, like, this is the last film in our January rom-com um, month.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's the very last one. I don't know. It did not end on a very good note for me. It's just, there's a lot
Yeah.
better Tom Hanks movies out there, I
Oh,
think.
for sure. For sure. I did trip out that his real life wife is in the film.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who?
You know the married couple, like in the very beginning.
Oh, that is his wife, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Crazy. Did not know
That
that.
messed
I'm
me. I
gonna
was
ask
like,
Patty
wait, what
whether or
is she?
not.
Yeah, that surprised me when I saw her. I was like, oh dang.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Well, all right. I don't know if when you were kind of like when first started watching movies, or like we kind of find out about movies. Sleepless in Seattle was like one of those movies that like a lot of people considered a very good movie.
Yeah, it's one of those bucket list movies for a lot of people. Well, it's like a
Right?
cult classic, I guess.
I can see it, but watching it nowadays, I'm like, there's a lot much better
Oh, for
like
sure.
romantic rom-com films out there. The
The
Big
Big
Sick that
Sick.
we just
Yep.
watched before this, yeah, it was definitely
Hmm.
much better and stuff. That had the punch of her getting like sick and everything and almost dying. But I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, Annie
I
seemed
was like,
desperate. Like Annie had a whole relationship, had a man that was about to be her husband, and was like, "Ooh, this man on the radio sounds great. I'm just gonna ruin my whole life for this man." I was
well,
like,
yeah, because she didn't feel the magic with that other guy.
He was a square. Like he had a whole bunch of ailments. I get that, but you can't just blow up your relationship just to meet some man on the radio.
But hey, Patty was like, man, they're like doing their registry at Tiffany's and everything, and it's like, man, they probably come from money and everything.
Yeah, hey. She was like, I'm good, bye.
Yeah, she's like, I'm done, I'm fine.
I heard this guy's voice on the radio. I gotta go find him now.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to
If
Seattle.
people don't know anymore, I guess it's like it's fairly typical back then. We would listen to the radio while we're driving home. We would listen to the radio while we're
Hmm.
sitting at home bored, and
It's like a
people would
podcast now.
call in and say their thing, and they would kind of ask questions and vice versa and stuff. And yeah, like you said, like they're like almost like podcasts nowadays and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was how it was and stuff. And you still get that today. I was listening to the radio when I was coming back home today, and you still get the same aspect of it, but it was really big back then in the 90s and early 2000s, where like people would call in the radio and try to win stuff and or tell their secrets of things.
I think, like, okay, so I enjoyed this. Like, definitely not one of my favorite rom coms, but I did enjoy this. But I think as I was going through, like in my notes, I have more questions like
Yeah.
that came up into my head than anything. Like, do you think love has changed, or the way that people find find that connection in love has changed from 1993 to today?
I guess it depends. Like nowadays we have different platforms and avenues to like meet people. And it was almost like the same thing that Tom Hanks was kind of going through. Like, what is it like? How is it to go meet people at the bar or like do this and that? And like, how do you find your next wife after your wife has just died? Like
Yeah,
nowadays, a lot of people are like, yeah, if they're like single in their 30s, it's like, oh my God, like, how am I going to go find somebody? Do I have to go to the bar and go stand around and drink like crazy?
I had to go stand in the
As
corner, just wave my
time,
hand.
yeah.
Hey, I'm here.
Yeah, you just have to like put your resume on your chest and start
For
walking
real.
around.
Oh, I gotta go join that. There's a dating app that did. I think they were had people either wear bracelets of a certain color or like a ring of a certain color. It's like, oh, that person's single because they have a green ring or bracelet or whatever. So people are doing that.
So like what? It's like a sign, like you put it on and
Yeah.
you go out into the wild and people can see it and recognize and everything. What if I just randomly have a green ring on or something?
Hey, hopefully they approach you and ask first,
Be
like,
like,
hey, are you? Like, I
I'm
see
sorry,
the
Patty.
ring
I
is.
was in the game. I don't know.
I didn't even know about this dating thing,
Yeah,
but
just like I'm in it now.
my favorite color is green and I got screwed over.
Well, I don't know. The first thing I have on my notes is that the first shot of the film is fairly like well done,
Mm,
and it opens up where it's like it's very sad, where the wife has
yeah,
possibly just died because they're standing at a grave, but it's like it's very sucked in, and it's only the two. It's the son and father of Tom Hanks and stuff standing there in front of the grave, and then it zooms out, and you see a wider shot of Chicago
yeah,
where they live at that point, and then the rest of the people. And then it goes into like the typical like funeral stuff, like just let me know if you need some help, or do you know how to make this? I froze this for you. Please like do that, which is nice and everything, but
yeah.
it's that typical stuff and everything during a funeral and everything, or like the after service. So I was like, I thought like once it opened up with that shot, I was like, man, this is gonna be, I guess, a fairly good movie, at least a good
Hmm.
kind of
Good cinematography.
cinematography and stuff.
Yeah.
As my light dies on me and everything, but but yeah, and then it like I don't know, I didn't feel the magic from that first scene to the rest of it for me.
Yeah. It was there's just a lot going on. Like it just felt in some senses felt frantic. Like the fact that I was touching on earlier with Annie having a relationship, having a fiance, what have you, and then being willing to just up and travel across the country to find somebody that she heard on the radio. Like I have in my notes, I have Annie almost got Regina George by that semi because she was just standing in the street. So that was very strict. She's just staring at this man. She doesn't know if that's him for sure. He definitely doesn't know that's her. She's just there. So yeah, there was a
That's
lot of
just a
like
real life
strange.
depiction of how people react to Tom Hanks in real life.
That's gotta be. That's gotta be like, yo, that's Tom Hanks in the wild.
Like
Like,
damn.
let me just stand and look at him for a second. So yeah, there was a lot of that, a lot of moments of just like confusion. Like, why would they do that, or why would anybody that is looking for love like do some crazy stuff like this? It didn't feel like rooted in reality in some cases.
I don't know, but like, was it back then? I don't know. Like, I don't know. We
Mhm.
we were fairly young back then, and
We
all
were
that stuff,
like
so we weren't
just
we
thought
weren't
of at that
necessarily
point.
needing for that. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I guess if you're kind of in Meg Ryan's character's like shoes, you're like, I am about to make this large decision. So let's make other large decisions to figure out if I want to do that large
yeah,
decision.
just wild.
Her own investigation, which probably costs thousands of dollars to figure out.
Yes, she didn't
But
bat an eye. Like
no.
travel across, or travel to Seattle, travel to New York, leave a dinner with my fiance to go to the Empire State Building to meet some man I like low key know. Like, yeah, that
Yeah,
was definitely a
after
lot of
he
money
bought a
spent.
bottle of Moet too, now he's gonna have to
Yes,
drink it by himself.
get lit
Probably
by
get a
himself.
DUI and everything.
Well, they were in New
Life
York, so
is
you might be all
ruined.
right. You might be like, taxi,
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
fine.
drive right now. Help me, please.
Yeah, I what's funny is like what I really like about these like older movies, the '90s movies and early 2000s. You see some of the technology and stuff, like the
Mhm.
lifestyle that we used to live, like how we kind of grew up, like in the early 2000s. We still had people that used Rolodexes, and
Oh yeah,
we still had a lot of people that didn't have computers and stuff. There was times where it's like people just did things. Like the guy,
yeah,
he's a what? He's probably a trade draftsman. He just
yeah.
draws the thing on a piece of paper.
That sounds horrifying. Like that sounds horrifying. That would take
Yeah.
so long.
So back then it was like it was a, I guess, a simpler time. So it's kind of nice to see that little snapshot in time where it's like, oh, like there's not so much technology out in the world at that
Well,
moment.
even the home phones too, with the curly wire.
Yeah, basically you'll
That was
set the big old
crazy.
thing down and then you'll walk around your whole house because you had a
Yeah,
giant ass wire.
it was like 30 feet long. It was
Yeah.
funny. Like Jonah went into the closet with that cable, and it's like, how are you not gonna not get caught, bro? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well,
And it
I
was
think
red.
I think Jonah was my favorite part of this
Yes,
movie. That kid
yes.
is, I don't know what he's doing now in terms of what his future was after this movie, but he was the best part of this movie and stuff. He
He
was
was a
a great
shining light.
character and
Hmm.
he did everything well for like a child actor and stuff. And you felt it where he did feel like his Tom Hanks's son,
Yeah.
and you did feel like he wanted to do this for his dad to feel better. So I think that was the best part.
I still think my favorite scene is when they were talking about sex. He's like, "Yeah, my friend is Cable." Hands
I know.
down, my favorite
Yeah.
scene from that movie.
I know Patty
Well,
was like, "Well, you're not going over that friend's house anymore."
like you're locked in my house from now on.
Yeah.
But even the his girlfriend or his little friend, she's an actress still.
Oh yeah.
She's in Winning Time. Like I saw her, I saw the actor, the little girl. I was like, man, the little girl looks familiar. And I was like, there's no way that that's the same person I'm thinking it is. Because she's like a grown woman, but it's like, okay, it was 30 years ago. She was probably 10. So she'd be 40 odd years old now. But I saw the little girl and I looked it up on IMDb, and she's one of the major characters in Winning Time on HBO.
See, that's crazy. Where it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's kind of nice to see that kind of progression. And you see, Tom Hanks is deep in his, and Meg Ryan are deep in their careers, and
yeah,
he's still doing crap. And this is 30
yes.
years later.
Because even like she does a handful of things, right? I haven't
I
seen
think
her as
so.
definitely not as often as the '90s, but I think I
Yeah, I
still see
think
her
Meg
popping in
Ryan
and
was
out of
like
stuff.
with the epitome of like these
Rom
rom
coms.
com kind of like
Yeah,
falling in love movies back then and
yeah,
stuff. And Tom Hanks, was part of it all the time.
yeah. He fell in love with Wilson.
Yeah, there you go. See, that was
And
the true
Jenny and
Tom
Wilson.
rom com.
That might be the greatest one of all time, honestly.
What do you see? I think we're already kind of like going down the route of like this was not sort of our cup of tea
Mhm.
for a rom com or even in general a movie. But what do you find as like the most kind of like negative to this?
I would say just the disconnect in reality of like, I don't know if anybody is really willing to just uproot their lives to find love, even though you have somebody that you hopefully love laying in the bed right next to you. That was my
Yeah,
biggest gripe. Like the filming of it, the dialogue. I didn't really dislike that. It was just the subject matter, the reality of the subject matter, and just somebody being willing just to be like, "Hey, I'm leaving you just to find somebody I heard over the radio."
true. I don't know. For me, I was like, I probably would have liked a little bit more of like it was just basically cat and mouse or playing telephone until the
Yeah,
very end where you're like, now I want the movie to start. now I want to see more of this. Or like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like what did they do afterwards and stuff and all that. I think
Obviously, they got married
I don't know. You never know.
because he was
So
infatuated by her. Like when he saw her, and when she almost got Regina George, it seemed like he had that connection of like, oh, who was this person? So yeah, he already knew at the end they were gonna get into a relationship.
yeah,
And
but
the
what if
son
it
loved her
doesn't?
too.
Son
Like,
loved her, but what if he didn't? What if he was like, I don't know. I like the
ah,
one that laughs like a horse.
oh no. We gotta wait for number two. Give it
Yeah,
like
right.
another 10 years,
Yeah,
and they'll give us
Sleepless
another
in Seattle
number
too.
two. That's when they start rebooting stuff after like 30 years, right? So
Probably,
we're
yeah.
almost due.
And Tom Hanks will be back in it.
Yeah, huh. Meg Ryan too, the little
Yeah,
kid.
yeah.
Oh, they'll switch him out. He's too old now. They'll switch him out.
Yeah, well. Would you recommend this movie to anybody, or like who would you recommend this to?
Uh, yeah, I would. I think anyone that likes rom coms, like just because you and I weren't fans of it, there's probably plenty of people that would enjoy a good '90s or early '90s rom com because it had that warm, fuzzy feel throughout, and you're kind of like watching the journey of these two people. So I can see other people enjoying it.
I can see that. Sadly, I think I believe I can see my parents liking this. Granted, it came out when they were kind of like watching movies all the time, probably,
Yeah.
and so like, but that like older generation of us, and so
Mm.
the generation before us probably will love this movie. Whether or not I don't know if like Nick and his wife would probably watch this and be like, okay, like I don't know.
I can
I can see
see.
Nick
Yeah, I
not
can see.
liking this probably.
Yeah,
Maybe
he's gonna be like,
Nicole and
nah, what is
everything,
this?
but Nick, I don't know. But I can see them watching The Big Sick more so than this thing. So
Yes,
it's like
for
I think
sure.
it's easier to kind of like recommend this movie to like our parents probably, or
Yeah, my
someone that
dad
just
doesn't really
really
like.
wants a sappy rom com. I think a
Yeah,
basic
I can see
rom
that.
com.
I can see my dad being on the same boat as us, being like, "What is this?" So I wouldn't recommend this to him. He's very tough to recommend movies to.
Right. I guess this answers our question of like, would you buy this for your personal movie collection?
No, I would. So I would watch it again. I actually would watch it again. I enjoyed the pacing of it. I'm yeah, I'm a sucker for that. Like if a movie has good pacing and I can kind of just have it on the background, I would watch this again. Movie collection, no.
And see, no, I feel like there's a lot better Tom Hanks movies out there.
Oh,
Uh,
for sure. Yeah,
Probably a lot better rom com movies out there too. Uh,
I would watch Boomerang over this.
I don't even know what the hell Boomerang is.
It's the Eddie Murphy.
Oh.
Eddie Murphy finding love. It came around, I think, like 90. Ooh, it might have been 89.
Ooh, damn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's good though.
So yeah, so maybe we'll watch that, and then that's the kind of build up to a better rom com and everything. What'd you end up rating this movie on Letterboxd?
I initially gave it a 3, and then I thought again, and I ended up giving it a 2.5.
Okay, I ended up giving it a 2. And so I was like, all right, it's a decent movie and everything. It's a good
Yeah,
showing between Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan and stuff in terms of actors and actresses. That kid really is the one that probably kept it at a
and
2 and
Jonah.
everything. Probably
Hmm.
Jonah. It does. I'm looking at Letterboxd right now. It's on average a 3.4 star rating and
Oh
stuff.
wow,
So I think
we are
that's also
horrible.
like nostalgia of like just watching a Tom Hanks movie and stuff like when he's at his prime, basically. So I don't know. Funny last note. I believe the movie's budget probably went totally for that last shot where like everything went to like CGI and stuff for like they're moving around there. I was like that had to be so expensive.
So much money, especially back then. You know, it took like 2 years just to make it.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks is probably like, you better pay my ass first before you do that.
I need to get my money before you put money into this movie.
Yeah, you better not waste my money on that. I don't know, but all right, Kai, you want to take us out?
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Saturday Night Popcorn. I'm Kai.
And I'm Jason, and we'll be back next week with another one. And please like and subscribe to our channel, Saturday Night Popcorn, for more podcasts like these.